Hi, this is Susan Bennett, the original voice of Siri. Here's what's coming up today on another great episode of On the Nose with Randall Kenneth Jones, the new Jones Show podcast.
I was actually on sabbatical living in Hollywood, and I met this very kind man at a cafe, and he's a little bit older than me. He was widowed, and he was a gay man, and we hit it off and became friends. And one of the things that he said to me was, Peter, I think you need a phrase. So he's like, we have pride, right? So we have pride, right? This is a rallying call for the, and that's what I'm hoping to make Solo, is the pride version for singles.
If you believe that everyone you meet knows something you don't know, then you're ready for the next bold evolution of the Jones Show podcast. On the Nose with Randall Kenneth Jones introduces you to people who are in the know and ready to share their special brand of know-how with you. From artists, authors, and activists to entertainers, educators, and entrepreneurs, On the Nose will elevate your ability to influence the world we share. Here's the host of On the Nose, Randall Kenneth Jones.
You saw my dog reading your book. You didn't? Did you see my dog reading your book?
No. Oh, yes.
Not on Twitter. I had the dog.
That's
my
right.
dog, Alexander.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was you. Your dog. Yes.
Peter McGraw. Yes, that was me. Peter McGraw. The dog is reading your book, Solo, Building a Remarkable Life of Your Own. And, we're all over the X. We're all over the Twitter with all of our stuff. And my dog, Alexander, who may make an appearance,
is that?
He may make an appearance. He is actually a segment producer, and he reads everything in advance. And he's sort of a solo guy. He's a little bit of a solo guy.
As an independent streak.
He's a single dude. He's an Airedale. He's a big time independent streak. Oh, Peter McGraw, author, so thrilled to have you here. Gonna start with the bus coming down the street, and I'm gonna throw myself under the bus. You work with a publicist I love. I really, really, really think the world of him. And when he first called me, when Nick Fontaine first called me, he said, do you want to do this show? And he's describing your book, is that you're writing a book called Solo, and it's all, living as a single person, the best, most productive, more successful, most happy, life you can live single. And it's really become, that's a growing thing. And I said, I actually stopped and went, oh, is that a thing?
It is now.
Well, how stupid. No, I was so ashamed of myself. I went, I'm exactly what you're fighting against. I'm exactly what you're fighting with. I went from my marriages, or even I went from marriage to a woman to a marriage to a man. I mean, I spent months solo by myself. Being with someone has been. Now, I'm also lucky. I've been with Derek for 27 years. He is the world. He is a great, he raised our children. We raised our children together. I'm really, really happy with those choices that I made. Were they societal in nature? I think so. But wow, you've taken on, you've changed people from being a single to a solo.
Well, yeah, and Randy, you might actually, even though you're married happily, you may be a solo too. We're going to find out.
Oh, no, well, yeah. No, you could be a solo, and you could be a solo in a matter of minutes. I'm going to visit my...
I don't mean it that way. I mean, solo is about identity. It's not about relationship status. So you can be single and not solo, but you can also be solo and not single.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. You can be, but depending on how independent you are. But no, and also the other thing to consider, I look at my dad. I'll visit him tonight. He's 92, and he's been without my mom for 6 years. He never thought he'd be a solo. And you can become a solo, and even at that age, you can become a successful solo. And like we said, now, here was the little... I tend to sing to people at the beginning of the show now. now that I have On the Nose with Randall Kenneth Jones, so I picked a little song
Okay.
for you. Okay. Let's see how I do. All by myself, I want to be all by myself evermore. See, that was for you. I rewrote All by Myself and I made
I
it
appreciate
appropriate
that.
to you.
I will say you do not want me to return the favor.
Well, the problem is I started the singing thing and I've done it almost every time since I've changed the name to On the Nose. And now I feel like the pressure's up there because people are like, what are you going to sing? What are you going to sing? What are you going to sing? So I kind of have to do that. And if people like you don't know me, they're like, oh God, this guy is singing to me. What is a solo? Define that for me. What is
Yeah.
a
So,
solo?
the solo movement really is about transcending relationship status. The world wants to know whether you're partnered or single because they want to know how to treat you. But I like to say is that knowing whether someone is single or not single tells you very little about them, right? It doesn't tell you what their hobbies are. It
Mhm.
doesn't tell you what they do for a living. It doesn't tell you whether they're happy or not, right? And
Mhm.
so, um, I, my goal is to bring singlehood and married living to the same level, right? That you're not less than, waiting for the one. And a group of singles and non-singles have transformed themselves to be solos, as I like to say. And there's three elements. We can actually play a little game here. I'm gonna quiz you a little bit.
Okay.
We'll
I
see
mean,
if we'll see if
okay.
you're a solo. So the first characteristic of solos are they are wholehearted. That is, they see themselves as a complete person, not as half of a whole. And you're thinking about this, I could tell.
Well, that's a
Mhm.
hard question. I would say it depends on the situation. I think my husband sees himself
I see.
largely that way.
Yeah.
I think I can certainly see myself that way, but I pretty much identify as being a very happy part of that
Yeah.
duet
And
of that
and just
pair.
because
Yeah.
you see yourself as wholehearted doesn't mean that you don't welcome someone into your life in a close bond, but it's not
Mhm.
filling a hole, it's complementary, is the way to think about it.
And that way I would agree. He is complimenting the life, but yes, I feel like I have in fact developed a life that
Mhm.
is fulfilling. That's independent for me because we both work from home across the hall, but we
Okay.
don't do the same thing. We're both working in our own very independent capacities. Now, I certainly have an independent life that is great all by myself, and he is a wonderful
Yes. Well, that
component of it.
leads into the second characteristics of solos. And that is that they tend to pursue self-reliance, autonomy, self-sufficiency. That is, I like to say they're a good parent to themselves. That they may welcome a romantic relationship, they may desire a romantic relationship, but it is one of interdependence, not codependence. And the idea essentially is that you don't need this thing, you want this thing.
I
Okay.
need it. I mean, I need it. I would. I'm gonna. If I have to, I have to ask Derek. I think he wants it more than he needs it. I think we're gonna find out Derek's really the
I hope
solo,
so.
and I'm good with that. No, I
Okay.
need it and I want it, and I need it and I want it. He is. I'm not
I see.
me without him. I think, and
I
that really
understand, and
is
that
true.
that is actually common and a valuable perspective to end up having. Yeah.
Well, I'm
So
lucky. Lucky people can be
right.
married completely and not have that feeling. I've been together 27 years with this man,
Yeah.
and I feel that way. Very lucky to be
Yeah,
able
that's
to answer that
wonderful.
way.
I think the challenging element to that is when people are involved in a partnership and they can't function without that other person. And the problem, of course, is as you alluded to at the beginning, you know, relationships have risks, right? Death, divorce, disability. And
Hmm.
so,
Hmm.
again, it allows you to opt in um, and choose rather than need in this way. And as a single person, it allows you to be a good parent to yourself, right? You're able to take care of your problems. You're not forced into a relationship because you need it to survive. You choose it in that way.
Yeah. Well,
and then the last one is, and I have a feeling you're going to say yes to this, and that is that solos tend to be unconventional thinkers. They question the norms, right? Society is built for two, and is built for a particular type of two. And most people just accept that, and they pursue it, even if it's an ill fit. And what solos tend to do is they say, oh, I may want that, but they design their life to pursue that rather than default into this script that the world gives them. And so, and then once you start questioning the norms around relationships, it becomes very easy to question the norms more generally. And so solos just happen to be just a little bit unconventional.
well, and I was reading part of the book. Solos appear to be just like more active.
Well,
I looked at some of the research of that and just do more things. My friend Carrie is a solo, has been single for years. And I'm telling you right now, when I went for a pizza with her recently, I've known her since we were 0. And she makes me look downright sedentary. And I was reading that section in your book and went, yeah, solos do more. They tend to do more.
In part because they're not beholden to someone else's desires, right? So, the thing about it is, so solos do more things alone, right? Especially in public, right? So they're more likely to dine alone, to go to concerts alone, to even do things like go skiing alone, which may sound surprising to people. But part of the idea is like, they're not waiting around, right? They're going to take that trip to Paris because they've always wanted to see the Eiffel Tower, and they don't want to wait for that person who may or may not come. And then also the other thing is that single people tend to have broader friendship networks. They're more involved in their community and so on. And so they have that sort of diversification. And that's not all of them, of course, right? There are people who are alone and struggling with it, but the average single person is, as you said, active.
The whole thing, I have to say about this book, and I will continue to say, just fascinating. I have so many quotes from you that I wrote down. This relates to what you just said. To go solo is to stop waiting and start living the life you want now. Yes. It's not just getting past societal norms. It's like, no, this is what works for me. I felt so ignorant when I got caught with that response. Is that a thing? Of course it's a thing. And I'm exactly what solos do, like, are people who assume that everyone's looking for the relationship. They're simply not.
Yeah, but
it doesn't suit everyone. And I've done how many interviews on print, podcast. This is the first time I've ever even thought of this topic.
Fascinating.
Which is why I'm so jealous.
Well, I have to imagine that many of your listeners and viewers are single, and some of them are right now are saying hallelujah, right? Like they feel seen in that way. And the data is, Randy, the data is crazy. So it's,
I know, it's all over the book, and it's like, half of
American adults are single. Half of them are not interested in dating or a relationship at the moment. Like that surprised me. And so of course the societal script is that being single is this temporary state, right? It's this, what academics call this liminal state, that you're in transition. And there was a time in the United States in 1960 where that was a very small amount of time where the average person got married by age 21. And so, you were single for like 3 years, kind of a thing. Now the average age of first marriage is closer to 30. People are not remarrying at the same rates. And some of them are like, I want to work on other things. I want to do other things. Like it sounds like your pizza friend, right? That she's on to other things. She's not waiting around for Mr. or Miss Right to come along. Yeah.
No, and she just is, she's always been like that. and to see, and now to really think of the people I know that have truly lived a solo life. I will admit, I have felt
Oh,
sorry for
interesting.
these
Yeah.
people. And now I'm so ashamed of myself. Oh, yeah. This book, like, hit me upside the head. I mean, I was so, how narrow minded can you be? I felt, I was angry with myself for not immediately being me and respecting the choice that people get
Mm.
to make about whether or not they shared their life with someone else. You get to choose not
Yeah. And I
to.
mean, of course, there are single people who are struggling, right? That your concerns about them are warranted. They desperately want this relationship. They're having trouble making it happen. You know, the world of dating, especially online, is difficult. People struggle, right? People have disabilities, they have financial problems, they have health problems, they have mental illness that make having a normal, healthy style of romantic partnership difficult to do. Maybe they even just live in places where it's just hard to find like-minded people. And then one style, so we talked about what I call no way singles, people who are not interested in finding the one, whether it be for now or
Yeah.
forever, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a no way, 20% of the time. I'm working on other things. When I was writing this book, I was a no way. I wasn't dating. I had my head down. And I joked that if I had a wife, I might have had to choose between the wife and the book because it was so challenging.
Oh, I've written a book. Yeah. That's a tough one. Yeah, I know.
But there's also
Yeah.
this sort of newfangled single. It's a small group, but it's growing and it's a pretty sexy group. I call them new way singles. So these are people who might welcome romance or sex in their life, or both, but they don't want the traditional relationship. So maybe they want a friends with benefits. Maybe they want to live apart from their partner. They want to have separate residences. Maybe they're polyamorous or ethically non-monogamous, or maybe their life partner is a platonic partnership, right? The most important person in their life, they don't have romance or sex with, but they live together. They function as a unit like you and your partner do,
Mm-hmm.
but it just doesn't meet the typical standards of the day. And if you're a new way single, you might have a hard time finding a partner. Like, I always thought there was something wrong with me because I couldn't make a relationship last. And what I realized was I just didn't want to live with a partner. Like, if I welcome someone into my life romantically as a primary partner, I don't want her to live with me. Not because I don't like her, not because I don't love her, not because we don't get along. I just like I like to sleep in my bed alone.
Yeah. But how does it feel when you realize that? I want someone to tell me, I heard this show and the weight was lifted and I took society's expectations off my shoulders. And I all of a sudden realized I'm not going to wait for my life. I'm going to live my life, and I'm not going to live my life in pursuit of something that won't happen. That's making me
Yes.
miserable
I have
in the process of trying to find
Amen.
it.
Amen, Randy. So I felt liberated when I realized, oh, like,
Yeah.
one of the things that happened was I looked at all my relationships and they were like healthy and good and long-standing. And then I realized, oh, I just am not a good fit for what we call the relationship escalator. And it might be worth it for your listeners to hear what are the rules and the stages of the relationship escalator, because they already know them.
The relationship escalator, which is discussed in detail in Solo,
Yes.
Building a Remarkable Life of Your Own by Peter McGraw. Talk us about the relationship
I
escalator.
think that this publicist should hire you as a partner in the company because you are an excellent hype man. I appreciate it.
Well, no, I always tell the truth. I truly was ashamed. And I'm truly like, wow, I'm being presented a concept that I didn't even really know existed and something brand new nobody's talked to me about before. So the curiosity side, I was kind of thrilled to be able to have this opportunity. So please enough about me. Talk about the the relationship
Yes. Well, I
escalator.
appreciate your intellectual humility, and I think that your listeners are going to benefit from this realization, and your friends and your family, because there are singles among them.
Well, and they're friends who are now going to go, oh,
Mhm.
wow, I need to really be more respectful of the choices that people make. And I'm the one preaching, let's respect choices, let's respect choices. And this was the one that I didn't
Yeah.
realize.
Well,
So,
but
okay,
I do think
back to you.
that that perspective is well-meaning, right? I think when Aunt Sally says,
Mhm.
"So, is there anyone special?" She wants you to be happy. She just has a different perspective of what happiness is compared to a lot of single people. And her
Mhm.
perspective is she'd likely ridden the relationship escalator and it works for her. It works for you, right? So everybody knows the stages, even if they haven't completed them. Their parents or grandparents have probably done it. Their friends have done it. It's been in movies and television and love songs. You meet someone, catch some feelings, you have sex, you define the relationship, you meet the friends and family, it becomes monogamous, you move in, you might buy a house, you might have kids, you might get married, but that relationship is considered successful only if someone dies while in the relationship, right? You get divorced, you break up, you split up. People are like, oh, that's too bad. It didn't work out. And that's a lot of pressure, of course, right? Relationships are hard to do that. And, and the rules, please.
Can I interject? I actually don't believe that because I was married to a woman in a wonderful relationship with a wonderful woman.
Okay.
And it did not last forever, but it produced two wonderful children. And she's very special and very important part of my life. I always want to do a shout out to Becky and acknowledge her, but it was really
Mhm.
big to me. And I have to say this to anybody who is a divorced parent, that my children knew they came from a loving relationship. And they've
I,
always known that.
I
They've always known
agree.
that.
I don't think we should be judging the goodness of a relationship based upon its length. We should be judging the goodness of
Right.
a relationship based upon its goodness. And so you can have a short,
Mm-hmm.
good relationship. You can have a long, good relationship. And those are good relationships. You can have a long, bad relationship. And we should not be judging that as good, right?
Yep. Yep.
So the
Mm-hmm.
rules of the escalator, we all know them. Most people have never considered whether they're choosing them or not. They just assume. And this was me as a younger man. I would start dating someone. So the big one, the 800-pound gorilla of rules, is that relationship is romantically and sexually monogamous. That is, it's a closed relationship. You're not allowed to have
Mm-hmm.
romance. You're not allowed to have sex outside of the relationship. Now, I like to joke that that doesn't mean that you're going to have it within the relationship. It just means you can't have it outside of the relationship, right?
You may
Yeah,
just
you
not
might
have
not
it
have it at all. Like it
at
changes, right? Yeah.
all. Well,
The
yeah.
second one I've already alluded to, and that is it is a merged relationship. You share your living arrangements. You move in together. You typically share a bed. You share your finances. Again, typically merge your finances, and you merge your lifestyle. You tend to take on the same beats, right? You know, around or get up around the same time. You
Mm-hmm.
vacation together. You start to refer to we, right? We need a vacation, right? In that kind of way. So you become, and this is that idea of uh, the wholehearted person is that what ends up happening is you two become one in, in the
Mm-hmm.
love songs and in the stories and Jane Austen and so on. And then the last one I've already alluded to also, which is that the relationship is continuous. It's consistent, right? You don't have any breaks, right? We're like, oh, we're going to see other people for a
Mm-hmm.
little while. We're going to take a break, right? You know, that it's once it gets started, it's supposed to continue, as we already said, till the end, till death does you
Right.
part in this way. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what I like to say is those rules might be great, right? It sounds like they work very well for you. And so there's nothing inherently wrong with the rules. It's just they may not work for everyone. right? So some people might want the occasional sexual dalliance. They may not want to merge their finances. They may not want to merge their lives, right? They may not even, as I alluded to earlier, need romance or sex from that primary relationship. And I actually forgot one of the last things about it is that it is, and this is important to mention, it is typically considered to be the most important relationship in your life, right? That it sits above all others except an adult to child relationship, right? So aside from like looking at your kids, but any adult to adult relationship that exists, it becomes the most important one. So suddenly you start dating someone, they become more important than your friend of 30 years. And for some people that's okay and that works well. And other people are like, whoa, I'm not giving you veto power over the rest of my life.
That's a sticky one with me. I have to say that. And I'm going to get on my little high horse a little bit. I actually respected the original ending of Will and Grace, the original one, before they brought it back, because from my experience, that's what happened. She got the life partner and they disappear.
So it happens.
My Facebook is filled with women. The last time I saw them was at their wedding and have not seen them since then.
I think that's unfortunate because you know what ends up,
that is
because
unfortunate.
Also what they're doing, I think is risky because they're isolating themselves in this little nuclear model. And if their partner dies, their partner divorces them, or they, becomes disabled, suddenly they have no friends, right? They've been isolated. And then they come and I've had it happen. You've had it happen. You have a friend, they meet someone new. There's some new relationship energy. I get it, but they just disappear on you. They break up and then they just show up at your door and they're like, hey, what's been going on? And, I welcome them back into the folds because I understand that they're operating almost without thinking. The world has told them.
I can pretend that I won't welcome them into the fold, but I know I
because you love them.
There was another example of someone whose spouse, whose spouse died and people were wonderful to her. Her best friend was extraordinary to her. They even had homes on the same streets. They were very close. They did stuff together. She found another man as a mature woman and dropped everyone.
I think that's risky.
As a woman over 70, and I kept thinking, when he's gone, and the chances are good that he will be gone before her at some point in time, I do question who will be there for her, because it was a big drop. I was dropped, but I didn't have the same relationship as her best friend.
And I think that hierarchy can cause friction, right? So, for example, we've all had a friend whose girlfriend or boyfriend doesn't really like you very much for whatever reason. Maybe they're threatened. Maybe they just don't like your lifestyle, whatever it is. And suddenly it becomes hard to see your friend, because that person's keeping them close. And so having this sort of far-reaching veto power can work for some people. It doesn't work for other people. The story, I think I have it in the book, was, I live a rich life, not to be immodest.
Well, that's the goal. That's what you're selling. That's what you're talking about. That's what you're saying. You can live the rich life. I mean, like I said, I have all these different quotes that I wrote down. A remarkable life is not just about how people spend their time. It is about how people feel about how they spend their time.
Are you excited about your day?
I mean, that's an amazing way for people who might be single and not realize they're solo to feel about themselves and to feel about the way they live their life. No, I think you're a big deal. I think this should be huge. I think every stupid person like me who didn't immediately get it, shame on all of us. I think this is such a fascinating read to anyone because it's something that I had not read before. I mean, we're winding down, but I'm so wound up about this, but I got to do one more thing, at least one more thing before we go. we got about talk about Carrie Bradshaw's shoes. We have got to discuss Carrie Bradshaw's shoes. I believe, you tell the, so Sex in the City. She goes to a baby shower, bridal shower, baby shower. Tatum O'Neal. It's at Tatum O'Neal's house.
I think you're right about Tatum that. You're good. You're good.
Yeah. Oh, no. Because one of my best friends is Peggy Post from the Emily Post Institute, Etiquette. And we've had this discussion. Should Tatum O'Neal have paid for the shoes?
So the story is, it's, I can't remember the name of that episode. It's about something about shoes. A woman's right. I think it's a woman's right to shoes, I think is what the name of the episode is. I think that's what it is. So Carrie shows up at this event in New York City, and she has these very expensive shoes. And the rule in the house is no shoes in the house. And so everybody takes their shoes off, they leave them in the hallway, and someone snatches the shoes, steals the shoes. And
the very expensive pair of shoes.
And
right.
And so she goes to this family, her very good friend, and asks to be reimbursed for them because she was forced to take them off and there's some responsibility there. And the friend offers a smaller amount of money and in some ways shames her for having such expensive shoes.
But no, in the book, you said she shames her. Tatum O'Neal shames her for all the money. She's like getting $400 on this pair of shoes.
And the idea is that Carrie is like, so what Carrie does, she's upset about this, and she does the math on all of the amount of time and money that she has given to this friend. Going to her wedding, bachelorette parties, buying the dress, a gift for the wedding, baby showers, rehearsal dinners, and so on and so forth. And this ends up being thousands of dollars, right? She has spent thousands of dollars celebrating this married person's decisions in life. And
traditions and their traditional lifestyles, celebrating the traditional lifestyle. That's what's so fascinating.
There was a time, again, in 1960, 90% of adults would get married. So if I went to your wedding and I gave you a gift, it was only a matter of time before you were coming to my wedding and giving a gift, and it would even out. But in a world where not everybody couples up, you start to create this imbalance. And let's be honest, it's gotten a little bit crazy. I mean, I'm going to a wedding this weekend, and I'm booking a flight. I have a hotel for 3 nights. The bachelor party is going to be a few $100s. I had to, Like I'm going to give a wedding gift, and it's going to end up being over $1,000 easily, right? In that sense. And I love my friend. I'm happy to support him, but he's never going to pay me back because I'm never going to get married.
He's not going to buy you a gift for your solo party. He's just not going to do it.
So and I think this is especially difficult if you're a woman, because I think that the costs associated with a lot of these traditions are a bit higher. These bachelorette parties have gotten ridiculous. Like you have destination bachelorette parties. There's like, you're supposed to give the bride a gift basket with lingerie and perfume and so on. And so in this episode, Carrie Bradshaw does the math and was like, I've spent thousands of dollars supporting her decisions and she can't reimburse me for these shoes. So what she does, I hate to give it away for people who are going to watch the episode, is she signs up for a registry for a self-marriage, and she puts one item on the registry, a replacement pair of her luxury shoes. Yes.
But I think it shows that you're a straight man, right? Or about Sex in the City. Bravo. Just how fascinating. You've written about humor. You're funny. It's engaging. It's interesting. It was so eye-opening for me. I applaud you for this movement, the solo movement. I applaud you for opening my eyes. I applaud you for giving me the chance to open the eyes of other people to this very legitimate choice people can make about living their life Solo, your quote, the real success lies in identifying what makes your life remarkable and being comfortable with it. I would just amend that to say, and
Yes.
celebrate.
Amen. Randy, you are a wonderful ally to millions of solos around the world. Billions.
For somebody who is so incredibly married and so incredibly devoted to being part of this duet, I will say, though, to what we got to earlier, I'm well aware of the fact that we're both independent, but we are a better pair. And I'm well aware how lucky I am at what he brings to my life that would simply know he's open. Just the fact that he's interested in things I was never interested in has vastly changed what I pursue, what I listen to. He is a little bit too interested in Rasputin, and I have never figured out his fascination with Rasputin. Everything on the Russian royal family that involves Rasputin, of which there are way more filmed shows on that than you would believe, we watch. I'm not quite sure I understand the Rasputin fascination. Other than that, we're good
I think
with
you can
Garrett.
manage that.
Yeah, if I can put up with the fact that I'm competing with a dead Russian religious man. If that's my main competition, I'm doing good.
Yes,
I
sir.
have one last question that I ask everyone. I really don't want it to be the last question. I really want us to do this again. I want to be your friend. I want to support you. I do ask this last question of everyone who comes on the show now that I've renamed it. And so I'm going to ask you this.
Yes.
Peter McGraw, what do you know?
Well, I know myself, I think is the biggest thing that has come from years of therapy, journaling, magic mushroom trips, and launching a podcast on single living and writing a book about it has forced me to really be comfortable and to really understand myself, to know myself. And I think that is an incredible gift that I've been able to give myself, because I'm not sure everybody can say that they know themselves.
For more information, visit onthenose.com. Please be sure to follow On the Nose with Randall Kenneth Jones on YouTube and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform. For On the Nose, I'm Susan Bennett, the original voice of Siri. And yes, I know. Do you? If not, see you next time.